Hi, my name is Elisa and I am a Bronco Fit Peer Health Educator. Here at Bronco Fit, we focus on programming and providing resources to students surrounding the 8 dimensions of wellness. Today, I will be talking about how the overconsumption of caffeine affects our physical, emotional, and even financial wellness. So what is caffeine? Caffeine is not just coffee, and although people may immediately think of coffee when they hear the term caffeine, it can also come in the form of energy drinks, tea, or just in our daily food intake, as seen on the chart to the right. However, the National Library of Medicine does state that coffee is the most common form of caffeine consumption in the United States. Caffeine is also a stimulant. A stimulant is a substance that raises levels of physiological or nervous activity in the body. So what does the overconsumption of caffeine look like? In a report published by the University of Kentucky, they found that the recommended daily intake of caffeine was 200 to 300 milligrams a day. Some research has found that 400 milligrams a day is okay. However, the majority of the literature comes to the conclusion that 200 to 300 milligrams a day is the safest. This amount is not harmful to healthy adults. Healthy meaning eating properly, getting enough sleep, and exercising regularly. When looking at the NCHA to see if Boise State students were getting enough sleep for the recommended daily intake of caffeine, it can be found that 42.2% of Boise State students are sleeping less than 7 hours. So only about half, 56.5% of the student population, is getting the recommended 7 to 9 hours of sleep. Remember, this recommended daily intake is for those eating well, exercising, and getting enough sleep. So why 300 milligrams? Because in that same report published by UK, it was found that any more than that causes serious mental and physical problems. This is why there's an emphasis on the overconsumption in this presentation. So what exactly does 300 milligrams a day look like? 300 milligrams a day is about equivalent to 3 6-ounce cups of coffee, 4 6-ounce cups of regular tea, or 2.5 energy drinks. Of course, these all may vary with the way the coffee or tea is brewed, or if you drink 6 ounces of black coffee versus 6 ounces of coffee with cream. These also may vary with what type of energy drink you consume, but these are good baseline values. To further reinforce what 300 milligrams looks like, here are some visuals on this slide to help you compare both in a measuring cup as well as a regular cup. In the second image, we can also see that 300 milligrams is about 1.25 cups for reference as well. So as far as which areas of one's wellness could be impacted by this overconsumption, let's begin with the negative physical effects. As mentioned in the previous slides, I am focusing on the overconsumption of caffeine and thus those who would be classified as heavy consumers. Heavy consumption is anything more than 300 milligrams per day and can reverse the potential benefits of caffeine. Potential benefits including the decrease in the risk of heart disease and type 2 diabetes for moderate consumers. However, research clearly demonstrates that overconsumption can actually lead to an increase in the possibility of being diagnosed with heart disease and the reversal of those potential benefits of caffeine. Not only are there physical health issues due to the overconsumption, but there is also the issue with physical distress that comes from the withdrawal from this overconsumption. The UK research previously mentioned determined that 83% of college students consuming caffeine regularly reported experiencing symptoms of withdrawal in the recent past. The Johns Hopkins School of Medicine published a study in which the researchers identified 5 groups of common caffeine withdrawal symptoms. These 5 include headache, fatigue or drowsiness, and flu-like symptoms of nausea, vomiting, and muscle pain or stiffness. All negative effects on physical wellness that can reflect in your ability to perform in school or simply in the activities of your daily living. So what about the negative effects on emotional wellness? I mentioned before that caffeine was a stimulant, which once again is a substance that raises levels of physiological or nervous activity in the body. So, if you have been diagnosed with anxiety, which according to the NCHA is 30.4% of Boise State students and is 3% higher than the national average, and then you throw a stimulant into your system, a stimulant that sends you into that sympathetic nervous system fight or flight response multiple times throughout your day, your anxiety levels are going to increase. Students have shown that this sympathetic response to caffeine can make anxiety worse and can even subsequently trigger anxiety attacks. Similar to the physical effects, there is also emotional withdrawal symptoms that could impact a person's emotional wellness. From the Johns Hopkins School of Medicine study, these emotional withdrawal symptoms are dysphoric mood, including depression and irritability, and difficulty concentrating. So if one is overconsuming caffeine and sending their nervous system into the fight or flight response multiple times throughout their day, we will see a positive correlation to the increase in their anxiety levels. Not to mention the emotional distress one can feel from withdrawal from higher amounts of caffeine consumption. There are also negative implications on the financial wellness due to this overconsumption as well. In the UK report, it was found that college students spend anywhere from $20 to $95 per month on caffeine products. When students become dependent on caffeine to give them energy to get them through their day or reduce their withdrawal symptoms, they begin to fall into the financial burden of buying caffeine. Below on this slide are a few prices for typical tea and coffee drinks from 2 chain coffee shops in the Boise area. Let's say someone was classified as a heavy consumer and they drink 2 12-ounce iced coffees a day. This would be just over the 3 6-ounce cups of coffee limit and would put somebody above the 300 milligrams a day recommendation. They would then be averaging around $82 at Starbucks and $84 at Dutch Brothers a month. Now, I do understand that most college students are not buying 2 cups of coffee every day for 30 days straight without fail. However, it gives you an idea of how quickly these caffeinated drinks can add up and how this can affect our financial wellness, and also might provide some encouragement in seeing how much you could be saving. I know I have thrown a lot of information at you about how the overconsumption of caffeine negatively impacts various parts of your wellness. So how can we now cut back in a healthy way, avoiding going cold turkey to reduce these negative effects? The Mayo Clinic presented a few ways to do so. They did not present these options to get you to eliminate caffeine altogether, but to simply cut back to those healthy amounts, that 200 to 300 milligrams a day. The first is to keep tabs. Start paying attention to how much caffeine you are getting from your foods and beverages, including energy drinks. Read labels carefully, but remember that your estimate may be low because some foods or drinks that contain caffeine don't list it. Keep track of how much caffeine you are consuming. Make sure you are under that 3 6-ounce cups of coffee, 4 6-ounce cups of tea, and 2.5 energy drinks per day. The second is to cut back gradually. Drink 1 fewer cans of soda or drink a smaller cup of coffee each day. Or avoid drinking caffeinated beverages late in the day. Set a time limit of 3 p.m., for example, and stick to it. This will help your body get used to the lower levels of caffeine and lessen potential withdrawal effects. The third is to shorten the brew time. When making your own coffee or tea, brew it for less time. This cuts down on the caffeine content. The fourth is to go herbal or go decaf. Most caffeinated beverages have a decaffeinated counterpart that looks and tastes very similar. Or choose herbal teas that don't have a high caffeine content. The fifth is to check the bottle. Check the bottle of energy drinks If you're buying coffee or tea in bulk at grocery stores, make sure you're reading the labels so that you know just how much caffeine content are in those bags and bottles of coffee. The Mayo Clinic released a statement regarding caffeine consumption that said, "If you're like most adults, caffeine is a part of your daily routine. Usually, it won't pose a health problem, but be mindful of the caffeine's possible side effects and be ready to cut back if necessary." I believe this statement summarizes the spotlight perfectly. While drinking or consuming caffeine will not immediately pose any health risks, the overconsumption can have negative effects, as we have reviewed, on physical, emotional, and financial wellness. Thank you so much for taking the time to go through this presentation with me. I hope you enjoyed and that you keep in mind what we have learned here today about caffeine overconsumption moving forward. Go Broncos!